Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams to everybody. 2nd of January, 2024. So we'll have a short kirtan and then continue our Jaiva Dharma reading. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava O Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai. O Jaya Sachi Nandan Jaya Gauda Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gauda Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gauda Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gauda. O Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe, Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini. O Radhe 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Guru Garanga Ganhapika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Vrishabhanu Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai, Nityananda Rai Ki Jai, Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gorkishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhaboma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Acharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Siromani Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hardas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Siga Holsi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gauda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautramdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Motandvip Rudradvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwadasa Varnatmaka Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Gopishwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketradam Ki Jai. Shri Sarva Vignas Vinashakari Shri Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Akari Sampradaya Ki Jai. Akari Dham Ki Jai. Akari Chari Chari Acharya Ki Jai. Akari Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Keshavji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai. Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Gauda Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Sarupe Dayata Sarupe Prema Sarupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvalarasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratu Tikatamba Sudipita Sudharitare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Benedustam Sarvabhutam Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Mayitvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanaravindam Bhajami Radam Aravinda Netram Smarami Radam Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radam Karuna Paradram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And unto our most noble, esteemed Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate, and our Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the assembled Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So, carrying on with our Jaiva Dharma reading. It's not a disappearance day today. No. So, we're into the second set. Text 6. Jadedvaita Jnana Hoye Chita Upadaya
Krishna
Krishna
Bhakti
Bhakti
Chira
Chiradina
Dina
Upaya
Upaya.
Upaye.
Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected. Whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the Upai, means of attainment, and the Upai, goal worthy of attainment.
So, this divine duality is the relationship between the Jiva and Krishna. Or we can consider Krishna's parikars in Vrindavan also, all the different relationships that manifest in Vrindavan. So there's duality, there's meeting and separation, etc. So there's variegatedness. It's not just blank oneness. So this variety is the speciality. There's variety in this world, but this knowledge is mundane and has no value whatsoever. So this is nimitic, fit to be rejected. But the knowledge of the spiritual reality, that's what we want to fill our hearts and minds with. Jiva kabu jadanai, hari kabu nai, hari sa
Jiva Chintya
veda
Veda
vedamai.
Vedamai. The Jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he Keval Advaita, absolutely in all ways with Sri Hari,
Absolutely one.
absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari. The Jiva is inconceivably different and non different from Hari.
This is completely wonderful. When we realize the speciality of the our transcendental souls, we also have independence. We have the sovereignty of this independence, the same as Krishna has independence. But we are anuchit, and Krishna is vibhuchit. But still, we have that independent choice so that we can serve the Lord. We choose to serve the Lord. Otherwise, that service to the Lord, that affection to the Lord, is fictitious unless we have our own choice. So, this independence is what we can say has caused our various karmas to manifest. And it's with this independence that we will choose to stop our karmic results and reactions manifesting when we just focus on that transcendental relationship exclusively, and we stop interacting with this material world in the sense that we're not creating any bad karma or good karma. We're just practicing our sadhan bhajan. So our karmic um, results are going to be absolutely minimal. It's described like when we connect, it's like the fan is being pulled out. It's still spinning for a little while, but very soon it will stop. So this is the description of Klesh Agni Shubhada, that then all auspiciousness will come into the life of that jiva when his reactions, when he's not desiring anything from this world. As soon as we don't desire anything from this world, we have no interaction with this world except to render service to the Lord. And there is so much service to render in this world. It's packed with opportunities to please the Lord. So when we fully engage in that, then our karmic cycle is going to be absolutely minimized.
Deha kabu jiva nai, dara bhogya nai,
nai,
dasya
tasya
bhoga
bhoga
jiva
jiva
Krishna
Krishna
Prabhu
Prabhu
bhokta
bhakta
hai.
hoy.
The material body should never be considered to be the jiva, and this earth is not for the jiva to exploit and enjoy. The jiva's swarup is Krishna Das, and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment, whereas Sri Krishna's swarup is Prabhu, Master, and Bhokta, enjoyer.
Bhaktaram Yagita Pasham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and the jivas are being enjoyed by Krishna. When we just realize that relationship, so much bliss can manifest in the consciousness of the jiva. When we realize that we are the Bibinamsa, we are the separated parts of Krishna, and our only function is to bring him pleasure. So this is a process. We have to perform so many activities and practices just to achieve that state of consciousness. But that is our goal. We have to, if we're not clear on the goal, we're going to be in difficulty. So the goal is to render pure service to the Supreme Lord without any mixed, without karma mishra or gyan mishra, without any mixed bhakti. This pure Shuddha bhakti, Ananya bhakti. Jaiva Dharma nahi ache
Deha
deha
Dharma
dharma
Kata,
kata nahi
Nahiyache
ache
Jiva
jiva
Jnana
gyana maya
Mayavada
vada
Prata. This book, entitled Jaiva Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavada doctrine of Jiva's oneness with Brahm.
So both of these are out, mukti and bhukti, or bhukti and mukti. Both of these propositions are out for the jiva. The jiva is suffering in this material world. Unless he has knowledge, unless he's guided clearly by the illumination of what is Shuddha Gyan and what are the precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu particularly, because at this time the precepts are available. Previously, we've discussed so many times these instructions from of Rag Mag were not available. It was simply the path of Vaidhi Bhakti and Aishwarya Gyan. This is the history. When we look back through Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, etc., that was the history of the sadhak's journey. But now we have this opportunity to engage in Raganuga Bhakti under the guidance of the six Goswamis, under the guidance principally of Rupa Goswami. We are following closely in that Rupanuga Guru Vargya, in that line. So that has nothing to do with the dead material body, utterly nothing to do with that, and nothing to do with the jiva's oneness with Brahm. Jiva, Brahm, Aikya. This type of knowledge is to be rejected, Naimittika. We have to say it again and again, because those are the only two options. What's it? Bhukti, Mukti, Spriha, Jyavat, Vishchachi, Hridi, Bharatate. These two witches of Mukti and Bhukti are dancing in the heart always, because the jiva by nature is an enjoyer. By nature, he has to enjoy. If he's not enjoying his spiritual practice, he's going to look to enjoy in the material world. It's automatic. So to um, build that appreciation of the transcendental or the spiritual activities that we perform during the day, this we can set our sights on this. How are we going to conduct? We have 24 hours in the day. How are we going to guide them to having more focus on Krishna's activities? What is our reading schedule, our chanting schedule, our cooking schedule, our associating with devotees schedule, our visiting the temple, our performing our puja? All of these considerations are there. And if we have to go into the material world to make money, then how can I dovetail that money for Krishna's service? Or how can I utilize that particular place of working for money to Krishna's glorification somehow or other? How can I do that? If I'm thinking that, Krishna will give me the intelligence to utilize it. If I have to go to work to achieve some money, to accomplish some Krishna conscious activity, Krishna will give me all this intelligence. Paramatma feature is there with the jiva in every single step of the way, ready to guide and ready to indicate where is our best option. If we're always thinking in the for what is the best welfare for the soul, this point, always considering that point, never anything else, then we can be successful in our lives. Jiva nitya dharme bhakti taye
Jai
jadanai
Jadanai Shuddha
shuddha
Jiva
jiva
Prema
prema
Seva
seva
Phale
phala
Payatai.
payatai.
The Jiva's Nitya Dharma is bhakti, devoid of material motivation. The Jiva purified by Seva attains the fruit of that Seva in the form of Prem.
So this is what is um, covered over in the Brahman understanding. We're hearing from Lahari Mahashai and now his son Devidas. He's also confused, thinking that these ritualistic karma kand processes that he's been following and the traditions of the Brahminical caste that he's been following, the rituals, etc., are nityadharma. He's thinking that is generally they will be considering that is going to get me to Swagaloka because that's about the extent of their appreciation. These are most in India in particular. They are looking to achieve that place because they're brought up with all the different devas and the worship of the devas, etc. And they believe that in Swagaloka is going to be my highest liberation or my highest freedom. But we have to be very clear, like Bhagavatam describes after the sixth canto, seventh canto, eighth canto, ninth canto, all these different pastimes about Lord Indra, etc., all the difficulties and problems that he gets. So he's the king of heaven, and yet he has so much difficulty. So we see that there is so much disturbance in Swagaloka itself, always being battled by the demons, etc., the wars and going on. Bali Maharaj, all his pastimes are there. And so we see what happens in Swagaloka to try and purify this misconception that Swagaloka is in my best interest, because the jiva becomes frantic looking for pleasure. He can't find the pleasure in this world, so he looks to Swaga. And these Brahmins are also, it's like described in that yagya, that the wives of the Brahmanas, when Krishna met the wives of the Brahman Patnis in that beautiful Vrindavan pastime, and their husbands were performing a yagya to attain Swaga. Krishna was on the planet. Krishna was just in Vrindavan. And yet they were performing a yagya to attain Swagaloka. But only their wives appreciated the speciality of Brajendrananda and Sham, and they ran to the forest with their items of foodstuffs. But the Brahmins there, they were so illusioned. Their desires were completely not purified. So this is the condition of most people unless we're educated. So it's very important that the devotees take up this seva of supporting Mahaprabhu's mission by educating as many people as we are able to do in our lives with the precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, somehow or other, either writing or singing or painting or preaching. So many different opportunities are there, whichever the talents or propensities the jivas have, we can utilize them in Mahaprabhu's service, and that will assure our progress. Because without the um, aspect of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in our life, then we haven't really captured the fundamental principle and potency of this birth. With Mahaprabhu's mercy, anything can be accomplished. This is Mahaprabhu's time. We have to make it his time. Okay, so now we're coming to page 80 of our chapter 5, and Devidas has been quite shocked when he's understood that Sandhya Vandanam is not Nitya. He was considering that this was Nitya Dharma. And this is how he's been trained, probably for many births. And all the Brahmin caste are all trained in this way. One friend commented that it's like an analogy. Say, the Brahmins are in a class of their own completely. And it's like if you go in South America, South USA, in Alabama, those places, and you're white and most people are black, like that caste distinction is there very prominently. So this caste distinction here in India is very, very prominent with the Brahmin class. And this was the um, place that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was trying to purify, because this is not in a consideration of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission at all. He's speaking to the Harijans, he's speaking to the most fallen people. He's giving them Harinam. So this is the principle. So I'm going to read the paragraph previously, and then we'll catch up with Devidas's question where we're up to. So Lahari said, the Sandhya Vandanam that is included in Karma Kand is significantly different from Vaidhi Bhakti. So in Karma Kand, it means that they're wanting something. They're performing their rituals because they have an agenda in the material world. Quite simple. Sandhyavandana and other such activities are performed in the Karmakand system in order to obtain liberation. It's either objects or liberation, bhukti, mukti, spriha javat. It's either one of these, or liberation. However, activities of Hari Bhajan, such as Shravanam and Kirtanam, have no ulterior motive. When they're purely performed, they should have no ulterior motive. The Shastras describe the results of hearing, chanting, and other limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti, but this is just to interest people who would otherwise not be inclined to perform those activities. So in other words, it's like clearing the track to begin with. It's like the kindergarten school or the initial school before we actually come into line. The worship of Sri Hari has no fault, no fruit, other than the service of Sri Hari. The principal fruit of the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti is to bring about the awakening of Prem in Hari Bhajan. This is the only principle, to wake up our transcendental relationship with the Supreme Lord, with the transcendental object. Devidas, then you do admit that the divisions or angas of Hari Bhajan have some secondary results. Yes, there are secondary results. Lahari, yes, but the results depend on the different types of practitioner. Sadhak, the Vaishnavas perform sadhan bhakti for the sole purpose of coming to the perfectional stage of devotion known as Shuddha Bhakti.
Siddha Bhakti.
What is it?
Siddha.
Siddha, sorry. Known as Siddha Bhakti. Siddha, perfect. Shuddha, perfect. Actually, yes, they are both the same. Siddha and Shuddha Bhakti. What is the difference between the two?
Siddha is like perfected stage.
Yes,
Shuddha is pure.
pure. Yes. But in essence, they're actually
A Shuddha Bhakta
eh,
becomes a Siddha Bhakta. You practice Shuddha Bhakti and you become Siddha.
no,
Even,
yes,
yes,
but don't be confused with a siddha in the mystical sense,
not
like
in.
in the yogic sense. We're talking about attaining
We
siddhis.
call sadhak Shuddha Sadhak, and that Sadhak becomes Siddha Sadhak, Siddha Bhakta, like that, isn't it?
It's not a common terminology to say siddha bhakta. You can say, of course, siddha means perfect, but it's not a common terminology. We say shuddha, which is pure, which is the clearest for us to understand, shuddha. But siddha bhakti has the principal essence of the same Here it's saying perfectional stage of devotion known as Siddhi Bhakti. So the perfectional stage of devotion that the Vaishnavas perform is not having any ulterior motive. When non-Vaishnavas perform the very same divisions or angas of bhakti, they have two principal motives: the desire for material enjoyment, bhoga, and the desire for liberation, bhukti and mukti. These two desires are there prominent in the heart of those who are not Shuddha Vaishnavas. Or then we can say Siddha Vaishnavas, but normally we don't say Siddha Vaishnavas. That's not a common. We say Shuddha, pure. I think the word pure, Shuddha, is more easily understood. Externally, there is no apparent difference between the sadhana practice of the Vaishnavas and those of non-Vaishnavas, but there is a fundamental difference in nishta. Yes, it's like the distinction, for example, in Nishkaram Karma Yoga. It's very subtle. Both practitioners are doing the same thing. Both are giving some donation to the temple, for example. A regular karmi is giving $100 to the temple, but a nishkarm karmi, he's also giving $100 to the temple. But the difference is that the nishkarma is thinking, this is not my $100. I'm just giving it back to Krishna. Whereas the karmi is thinking, this is coming from my pocket. He's making a claim on that resource of Krishna's. So there's a distinction here. So these distinctions that the non-Vaishnavas, principally Devidas, who we're talking about, he's performing his various Sandhavandana because he wants to live a good, happy life here in the material world. He's putting all his focus on the material success rather than the spiritual success. When one worships Krishna through the path of karma, the mind is purified and one may obtain material fruits, freedom from disease or liberation. Yes, the mind becomes purified. If he's doing it with focused attention on, he's realizing that he's offering his fruits to Krishna. That's an upgrade from not offering your fruits to Krishna. So it's starting on the path, on the journey. It's the beginning, just the very beginning is that karmic intention. I'm offering my fruits to Krishna. Nishkarm karma is very respectable, but it's not Shuddha Bhakti.
If you come to page 902 and 906, there is the Siddha Bhakta and there is Shuddha Bhakta. Then
And what's the distinction described?
a pure Bhakta,
Just tell me in your own words what's the distinction described.
they say a pure Bhakta, one who performs Shuddha Bhakti is Shuddha Bhakta, whereas Siddha Bhakta is one who is always fully immersed in activities related to Shri Krishna, who is completely unacquainted with impediments or material distress, and who incessantly tastes the bliss of praying is called a Siddha Bhakta.
So what's the difference? In
Here it is a
essence,
practitioner stage, whereas Siddha is a liberate
Sudha is a practitioner stage, a Shuddha Bhakta.
Shuddha Bhakta, yes.
Read it, read the translation then. Where is it? We look at it. 902.
Shuddha Bhakti,
Wait,
which is
Shuddha Bhakti or Shuddha Bhakta?
that you come to 906.
906. Shuddha, Shuddha Bhakta, a pure Bhakta, one who performs Shuddha Bhakti. And then Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, devotion which is unmixed with fruitive action or monistic knowledge, and which is devoid of all desires other than the exclusive pleasure of Krishna. This is known as Uttam Bhakti. Yes, Shuddha Bhakti. Now, Siddha, what page is that?
902.
Huh?
902.
902. So that's a Uttam Bhakti.
Yes.
Bhakta. 902.
You see the third one, Mother.
Siddha Karmi.
There are three definitions: realized or perfected, liberated.
Oh, Siddha. Siddha just means perfected.
Liberated soul who
realize,
reside in the spiritual world.
liberates, yes, a siddha, or a liberated soul who accompanies Bhagavan to the material world to assist his pastimes,
Or one who has attained the perfection stage of bhakti, prem, in this life, whose symptoms are described in Bhakti Rasamrita.
who incessantly tastes the bliss of prema, is called a siddha bhakta. So that's practically exactly the same as a shuddha bhakta. I can't see the distinction, especially. I don't think there's a great distinction there. If I'm offered the choice to be a shuddha bhakta or a siddha bhakta, I'll take either. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? It seems that a Suddha Bhakta is an Uttam Bhakta, and a Siddha Bhakta is a perfected Bhakta. So, what is the difference, really and truly, in essence? There's subtle differences there, but I don't think we have to stretch our brains about it. Okay. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is using this particular word here, Siddha Bhakta, perhaps because Devi Das will be more familiar with that because he doesn't know about Shuddha yet. He just knows about Siddha perfections. So we have perfection in the liberated state. So that perfection will lead to ultimately Shuddha, to pure. It seems to me to be that way around. Because the Shuddha is the Uttam Bhakta. You can't become higher than the Uttam Bhagavat. What is higher than that?
Shuddha, now for example, there are different types of bhakti, right? Karma Mishra,
Mm-hmm.
Jnana Mishra,
Mm-hmm.
Sangha.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is Shuddha Bhakti. So Shuddha Bhakti is a practitioner stage also.
Yes, yes. It's beyond those stages. Yes.
So it is like a sadhak can practice Sangha Siddha Bhakti or
The Swarup Siddha
Swarup
Bhakti,
Siddha Bhakti is called Shuddha Bhakti.
Swarup Siddha Bhakti is Swarup Sad. Yes.
Shuddha Bhakti.
Shuddha Bhakti is Swarup Siddha Bhakti. That's the highest. This is what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is saying. The Sangha Siddha Bhakti, Arup Siddha Bhakti, and Swarup Siddha Bhakti. So Swarup Siddha Bhakti is Shuddha Bhakti. Different terminologies, but very similar in essence. When one worships Krishna through the path of karma, the mind is purified, and one may obtain material fruits, freedom from disease or liberation. So we see many people in the devotional world that are practicing bhakti from the very beginning, and their reactions to their karma has been minimized, and they are obtaining the fruits of their various desires just by practicing devotional service to in a neophyte stage. Still, they're attaining fruits. They're not harassed as they would have been previously. So many things become settled, but this is simply just the beginning of their journey. This is the neophyte stage. When this is the karmi stage, and it's described in the um, first six chapters or fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This nishkaram karma yoga. This is where it comes to first. After the karmi, comes the nishkaram karma yoga. That's what I've just described before. So these are all gradations that are very helpful for the sadhak to appreciate which stage he's on. But the same worship of Krishna through the path of bhakti produces only prem for Krishna Nam. So now he's talking about Shuddha Bhakti or Siddha Bhakti. You can interchange those two. When karmis, those who follow the path of karma, observe Ekadashi, it eradicates their sins, whereas when bhaktas observe Ekadashi, it enhances their Hari Bhakti. So what a difference. For the karmis, their sins are minimized. In other words, so that they can get more pleasure from this material world. That's their intention. Or they can achieve more likely moksha, mukti, or this even bhukti. They can achieve that through following Ekadashi with some ulterior motive. But the bhakta, he just wants to enhance his devotion to Krishna. Just see what a world of difference there is. Really, really, we have to appreciate the huge. This is what he's explaining to Devidas. Devidas, he doesn't realize what is bhakti. He doesn't realize what is siddha bhakti or sudha bhakti. He doesn't realize either of this. He doesn't realize the connection with transcendence isn't about asking for your wish list to be fulfilled by Krishna, whereas the other process of karma is asking for Krishna to give you so many material facilities or even subtle facilities like swaga, etc. That's what the karma yogis want. The subtle difference, just like Dhruva Maharaj is the epitome of the Sakam Karma Yoga. Sakam means wanting yoga, wanting the result. So he had the desire for a kingdom greater than his great grandfather, greater than Lord Brahma. So he attained the North Star, the pole star. So that was his desire. The subtle difference between sadhana performed as an aspect of karma and sadhana performed as an aspect of bhakti may be known only by the mercy of Bhagavan. So it's very subtle. So Bhagavan's mercy must be there. That means, how do we get Bhagavan's mercy? Sadhu Sangha. Without the mercy of the sadhu, Bhagavan's mercy can't manifest. It has to come through that channel. That channel must be there. That means Guru. Without Guru, then how can Bhagavan give his mercy? If the practitioner hasn't submissively connected with Guru in Vishrambena Guru Seva, then how can the current flow from Bhagavan into the heart of the sadhak? It doesn't go directly. It's just like you can't go directly to the prime minister, so to speak. You have to go through the secretary first to get to the prime minister. It's very basic, very simple, but it's something that we have to constantly meditate on it. We may have been initiated by a guru, but what is our nishta in guru? What is our guru nishta? We may have been initiated not even understanding who this person really was, but we just understood, yes, he's a powerful person, but I haven't really developed my personal relationship with him. So how am I going to develop my personal relationship with that person? So that should always be considered by the practitioner. The bhaktas obtain the primary result, whereas the karmis are caught up in the secondary results. This is the answer to Devidas's question. What about the secondary result? So they're caught up in the second. So there are scriptures for the secondary results to be achieved. This is the Karma Kand section of the Vedas, which may be broadly divided into two categories, namely bhukti, material sense enjoyment, and mukti, liberation. So it's very clear. These are the secondary results. Yet we described before, most people in the world are going for moksha. If you go to any spiritual society, for example, that's not a Vaishnava society, they will be looking towards Shantaras in the Brahmand, moksha. That will be what they're propagating. How everyone here can become peaceful in their material consciousness rather than serve the object of transcendence, Krishna. It's a tremendous difference between night and day. So this is what he's describing to Devidas, the huge distinction basically between worshipping the Lord and worshipping yourself, because both bhukti and mukti, mukti are service to the jiva himself. It's not service to the Lord. It's self-service, this selfishness. This is ultimately our terrible disease of selfishness, which may be broadly divided in two categories, namely bhukti, material sense enjoyment, and mukti, liberation. Devidas, then why do the Shastras extol the virtues of the secondary results? Yes, he's asking this good question. Lahari, there are two kinds of people in this world, those who are spiritually awake and those who are spiritually unconscious. This is the same topic that we discussed in the second chapter and the third chapter. There are distinctions, there are varieties of people. Therefore, there are varieties of paths to reach the ultimate destination, just like the Varnashram system is actually designed so that the Sudras themselves can make advancement, the Vaishyas can make advancement, the Kshatriyas can make advancement, even the Brahmanas can. All the different castes in the Varnashram system, they can all make advancement slowly according to their adhikar, according to their eligibility and stage. This is what the secondary results are there for. Um, the Shastras have praised secondary results for the benefit of those who are spiritually unconscious and who do not perform any pious activity unless they can visualize a forthcoming result. Hmm. Unless they can see, I'm going to get something for this, I won't bother to do it. However, the Shastras do not intend such people to remain satisfied with secondary results. Rather, their attraction to secondary results should induce them to perform virtuous acts which will hasten their contact with sadhus. So it's only the contact with the sadhus, which Devidas hasn't had. Now he's coming in contact with his first sadhu, basically his father, who's giving him this vidya, this knowledge. Then, by the mercy of the sadhus, they will come to know of the primary results of Hari Bhajan, and taste for those results will awaken within them. So, very simple, very simple. But people miss it. They get involved in these ritualistic activities for generation after generation after generation. You know better than me. All these Brahminical yagyas and so on, like I just described, that yagya of the Yagna Patnis, that they were performing to reach Swagaloka, specifically said like that in the 10th canto. So if we have this intention, then without the sadhu to guide us to pure bhakti, even when the sadhu is there, still the desire for fruitive results will remain. So that has to be purified also. Devidas, then are we to understand that Raghunandana and other authors of Smriti Shastras were spiritually unconscious? He's misunderstanding. They were completely spiritually conscious, but they were giving for the spiritually unconscious. It's like if we go out and distribute books, we've already read the book, we've understood and digested it. We don't have to be on the street distributing books, but we want to give that same initial knowledge to the conditioned soul. So we're starting at the beginning there. Lahari, no, but the system is that they have prescribed is for the spiritually unconscious. However, they themselves seek the primary result. So just like Vyasadeva, he wrote so much on the Karma Kanda section, on the Gyan Kanda section, prior to writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So many uh, descriptions were there, like descriptions of Ekadashi, for example. If you follow Ekadashi, this will happen, this will happen. There's so many fruitive results mixed in with it to encourage the people just to follow Ekadashi. And then when you're following Ekadashi nicely, after maybe even some lifetimes, then you will come to understand actually what is the real purpose of Ekadashi. So it's very basic. Devidas. Some Shastras only describe the secondary results and do not mention the primary results at all. Why is this? Lahari. There are three types of Shastra corresponding to the varieties of adhikar, eligibility, among human beings. Sattvic, of the nature of goodness, Rajasic, of the nature of passion, and Tamasic, of the nature of ignorance. The Sattvic Shastras are for people who are imbued with the nature of goodness, Sattvagun. The Rajasic Shastras are for those enveloped by the nature of passion, Rajagun. And the Tamasic Shastras are for those engrossed in the nature of ignorance, Tamagun. So there's different Shastras for different levels, but each of those Shastras is ultimately purifying the jiva to come to the next level. If you're following the Tamasic Shastras, hopefully, if you follow them carefully, you'll be inspired towards the Rajasic Shastras, etc. And even Brahmanas, there's Brahmanas who are following Tamasic Shastras. There's Brahmanas who are following Rajasic Shastras. There's Brahmanas. It'll be said just now. We'll see. We'll read. Devidas. If that is the case, how should one know which directives of the Shastras to have faith in, And how may those lower adhikar eligibility attain a higher destination? Lahari, human beings have different natures and faiths according to their different levels of adhikar. People who are impelled primarily by the mode of ignorance have natural faith in the Tamasic Shastras. Those affected primarily by the mode of passion have natural faith in the Rajasic Shastras, and those in the mode of goodness naturally have faith in the Sattvika Shastras. One's belief in a particular conclusion of the Shastra is naturally in accordance with one's faith, but this also includes Brahmanas, like I've just described, that yagya. They were yagya Brahmanas, and they were performing a yagya to achieve Swagaloka. What is that? That's not in the Shuddha line, that's in the Rajasic line. They had a desire, they had a motive for liberation from this world and to attain Swagaloka, the fruits of Swagaloka. That was their intention. So they were following the guidance of Rajasic Shastras, and they are in the caste of Brahmins. As one faithfully, just like Devidas here, just like Lahari, they are in the caste of Brahmanas, but they're ignorant completely of these higher teachings. So therefore, what are they following? And if they chose to write about their um, uh, activities, their rituals, they would only write about the rituals that will flourish in the mode of tamagun or rajagun. They're not going to write about Shuddha because they don't have that knowledge yet, that wisdom. As one faithfully carries out the duties for which one has the adhikar, he may come into contact with sadhus and develop a higher adhikar through their association. As soon as a higher adhikar is awakened, one's nature is elevated, and one's faith in a more elevated shastra will follow accordingly. Yes, it's a gradation. Very simple. The authors of the Shastras are infallible in their wisdom and compose the Shastras in such a way that one will gradually develop higher adhikar by carrying out the duties for which one is eligible and in which one naturally has faith. It is for this reason that different directives have been given in different Shastras. Faith in the Shastras is the root of all auspiciousness. So the faith must be compounded, must be made strong within that um, person of lower intelligence. So his faith is made strong by the Tamasic Shastras because he understands that. It's saying you do this yagya, you drink this wine, you offer this flesh, etc. Then you can take the remnants of that yourself. So he has a desire for the wine and the meat. So he performs the yagya. So these are described in the Tamasic Shastras, right? He's getting his wine and he's getting his meat, but he's performing the yagya to achieve that. So that is better than just drinking wine and eating meat without a yagya. So he's building respect for the Shastras. This respect for the Shastras is paramount. Without respect and connection with the Shastras, we are lost completely. We are lower than Antyaja. Antyaja are outside of the caste. If we don't have any um, desire to connect with the wisdom of these sages and rishis from the past, what possible hope can we have of attaining anything auspicious for ourselves in this life? Shrimad Bhagavad Gita and Mimamsa Shastra are all the Shastras. This Siddhanta is clearly stated there. Yes, so it's described in the Gita all the way through. Krishna gives, if you can't do this, then do this. In chapter 12, if you can't serve me directly, then you can serve me indirectly, and so on, and so on, and so on. There are many stages of serving the Lord. Devidas, I have studied many Shastras since my childhood, but today, by your grace, I have understood their purpose in an entirely new light. Again, he's saying the same thing as previously. The karmic ladder from karma yoga to jnana yoga to bhakti yoga. He's describing the same principle because this is the root of the deficiency in the Brahmin caste. He's talking specifically to the Brahmin caste here. He's not talking just to general people on the street. He's talking to the Brahmin caste who are misguided and have misunderstood and have based all of their um, auspiciousness on just being born in a family of Brahmanas rather than behaving and acting like a Brahmana. um, I have studied many Shastras since my childhood, but today, by your grace, I have understood their purpose in an entirely new light. Lahari, it is written in Shrimad Bhagavatam 11:8-10. Can you chant this verse? And you, Bayash? Chamaha.
अनुभयाश्च महाभ्याश्च शास्त्रेभ्यः कुशलो नरः सर्वथा सारम् आदायात् पुष्पेभ्यः इव सत्पथः.
An intelligent person will take the essence of all the Shastras, whether they are great or small, just as a bumblebee gathers honey from many different types of flowers. My dear son, I used to call you an atheist because he wasn't worshipping God directly. He was just performing the ritualistic process. Nyaya Shastra is just debating. This is what he's famous for doing. This is what Nyaya Shastra is about. This is what Devi does. He opened a school for teaching Nyaya. Now, I don't criticize anyone because faith depends on adhikar. So how can he think to criticize someone because they just don't have the eligibility to understand what is of a higher value? There is no question of criticism in this regard. Everyone is working according to their own adhikar, and they will advance gradually when the time is appropriate. Although Sadguru can really push that adhikar along, he can really purify our ineligibility to make us eligible very, very swiftly. This is the potency of Sadguru. This is why the urgency is there to connect with Sadguru. He can push us along tremendously on that path if we have the fortune and the intelligence to follow his directives and indications. Everyone is working according to their own adhikar, and they will advance gradually when the time is appropriate. You are a scholar of the Shastras, dealing with logic and fruitive action. This is what the Nyaya Shastra is about, logic and fruitive action. And he's a Brahmana. This is the point. He's a Brahmana, and he's reading the Nyaya Shastra about logic and fruitive um, activities. And since your statements are in accordance with your adhikar, there is no fault in them. Devidas, until now, I believed that there were no scholars in the Vaishnava Sampradaya. I thought that the Vaishnavas were mere fanatics who concern themselves solely with one part of the Shastra. But what you have explained today has completely dispelled my misconceptions. Now I have faith that some of the Vaishnavas have truly understood the essence of Shastra. Are you studying the Shastras from any great soul these days? So something is transforming in Devidas's heart. He's hearing the supreme reality and he's softening and he's having a mood towards a supreme higher conscious being. Some little spark has actually happened here. You can see this transition in his questions. He says, now I have some faith that some of the Vaishnavas have truly understood the essence of Shastras. So he's respecting the Vaishnavas. First of all, his own illusioned conception of him being a Vaishnava had to be dismantled. And then he had to realize he was just performing karma. And it wasn't focused on the object of service. It wasn't focused on transcendence towards Krishna. It was focused on remuneration for himself. This is what, and he's understood that. But now he's going even further. Now he's understanding with faith something that the gift that the sadhus can actually give, which is a conception of the Supreme. My son, you may now call me a fanatical Vaishnava or whatever you like. My Gurudev performs bhajan in the kutia next to mine. He has instructed me in the essential conclusion of all the Shastras, and I have just expressed the same thing to you. If you would like to receive instruction at his lotus feet, you may inquire from him in a devotional mood. Come, I will introduce you to him. So we see the steps, clear, beautiful, simple to follow procedures that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is laying out. The distinction between karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti. The distinction between bhukti and moksha. These clear distinctions and what is our personal intention. So we have to translate all of these into our own journey, so to speak, and consider, where am I going? Do I have material desires that are bouncing around in my consciousness that I'm hoping to be fulfilled by practicing these angas of bhakti, shravanam, kirtanam, etc.? Or am I actually wanting that complete submissive surrender to the Supreme Lord Hari? So we have to introspect these according to our own particular situation. Lahari Mahashai took Devi Das Vidyaratna to the kutia of Vaishnava Das Babaji Maharaj and introduced him to his Gurudev. He then left Devi Das with Babaji Maharaj and returned to his kutia to chant Harinam. So that's a very good place to stop today. So just understand all the incredible stages that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is walking us through very clearly. And it's about purity. For the Western audience, it's not about purifying their um, sense of being a Brahmana or anything like that. It's just about purifying the focus of the goal. That the goal isn't material. It's the same as the verse Anyabilasata Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. My Gurudev just said this repeatedly in every single festival we ever went to. Try to understand what is Shuddha Bhakti, what is pure Bhakti. It's not Aropsiddha Bhakti. Aropsiddha Bhakti means that I have a proclivity for something and I just happen to be offering it to Krishna. If I'm a really wonderful singer, then I just happen to be singing Krishna bhajans, but actually my real motivation is to have a chance to sing myself or to cook. I love to cook and I just happen to cook for Krishna. But if the object is Krishna in devotion, and this devotion will deepen and deepen day by day with our chanting and our practices, but it's this devotion that we are hungry and desperate to actually catch up and discover within ourselves what is that dormant, that prakatam riti satyate, that it's lying, that transcendental nature is there already in my heart. How can I connect with that essence of my being in its relationship with the Supreme Being? Because it can only be realized in relationship to the Supreme Being. If it's not going to be realized in the relationship to the Supreme Being, then it's mukti, then it's moksha. Because in moksha, that state, there's only one, there's only the jiva, there's not the transcendental entity too, there's only one. But for love to ensue, there has to be two. So how am I cultivating my love for Krishna? It's not through gyan. That process will support, but it won't take us to the end result of devotion. We have to be, my Gurudev used to say regularly, we should think 4 or 5 times a day, how much am I truly devoted to the Lord in this particular activity? How much am I selflessly performing this activity for, not for altruistic reasons, not just, to make the conditioned souls happy or something like that, but how much am I, in a sense, wanting to bring those conditioned souls to a place of worship to the Lord and myself in the process, because that process is all inclusive. By purifying the conditioned souls, I'm hopefully purifying myself. Unless, of course, we go on a tangent and still stubbornly hold on to our own sense of greatness. When we consider in the world there are 8 billion people on the planet, and how much importance does this, our particular soul have in relationship with others. So we should be trying to purify that sense of pride. If that sense of pride is there, nothing can transpire. So Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gold Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Goda Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Goda Hari Bol. Nitai Goda Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Shila Gurudev ki jai, Shila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Arupa Nuka Guru Varga ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Vaishnavas ki jai, Ananta Gota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gold Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhaveva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha. Hari Bol.